This is Soul Land 2 Episode 40 Part 2. Elder, who are you? Are you here to find me? Hui Yuhao posed the same question again. At the same time, he lifted his hand to protect Wang Dong, who was behind him. Both he and Wang Dong did not unleash their martial souls at this moment, as they could sense the immense gap between them and this elderly man in front of them. He was not someone that could be resisted easily even if they teamed up together against him. Since this was the case, unleashing their martial souls could have the undesirable effect of provoking the elderly man. At the very least, they had to clarify the situation first. The elderly man snorted as he cast his piercing and vigorous gaze on Hui Yuhao's face. He said indifferently, "Tell me, which human form of the 10 great savage beasts are you? While you have concealed yourself well, you can't fool me, even though you might fool others." Hui Yuhao was incredulous as he replied, "What do you mean, 10 great savage beasts? Elder, I have no idea what you are talking about." "You have no idea what I am talking about. Stop pretending, it's useless. Don't even think of trying to escape. With your current abilities, you don't stand a chance against me. I have already sealed this place with my soul power. Neither your voice nor your body will have a single shred of a chance of escaping." Hui Yuhao furrowed his brows. "Elder, I have seriously no idea what you're talking about, or why you are here." The elderly man guffawed and seemed to be very proud of himself. "Very well. Since you're not going to admit anything, I shall expose you then. I shall let you die convinced." As he spoke, the elderly man stepped forward and his aura erupted, forcing Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong to retreat uncontrollably. They even fell back onto the sofa. "I am Cheng Gang, the protector Doluo of the Star Luo Empire. On that day, how did you manage to emerge victorious over your opponent during the competition between Shrek Academy and Just Sky Academy?" After hearing his words, Hui Yuhao's heart could not help but skip a beat, as he understood what the elderly man was talking about. While Hui Yuhao was not exceptionally smart, he had become much more intelligent after he fused with the Sky Dream Iceworm. Not only was he much more mature than others of the same age, he was also more pensive. He now understood that the elderly man could have sensed the aura of the Ice Empress, which explained the man's previous question. The elderly man had taken him for the human form of 100,000-year soul beast. As Cheng Gang looked at the stunned Hui Yuhao, he assumed that Hui Yuhao was feeling guilty over what he said and added, "During the competition, you were forced to use your origin power. Am I right? At that moment, you inevitably revealed the aura that you originally possessed. To others, they might not have noticed, but you can't escape my sharp eyes. My martial soul contains a spiritual sense that is extremely sensitive. At the very first moment, I had already felt your aura. Let me think, among the 10 great savage beasts, only 2 of them belong in the ice-type category. One of them is the Snow Lady, who is ranked 3rd, and the other is the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion, who is ranked 8th. Which of them are you?" Hui Yuhao was truly stunned by the judgment of the elderly man now. Besides the fact that he was not the human form of a soul beast, this elderly man's judgment was flawless. While the elderly man referred to her by a different name, Hui Yuhao could tell that the Snow Lady that the elderly man was talking about was actually the Snow Empress, as the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion called her. As for the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion, wouldn't it be referring to the Ice Empress herself? What was it with these 10 great savage beasts? The Titan Snow Devil King, ranked last among the 3 heavenly kings in the extreme north, was not even included. As for the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion, she was even only ranked 8th among the 10 savage beasts. The rankings were indeed frightening and astonishing. "All right, you don't have to act foolish anymore. You won't stand a chance. I never expected my luck to be so good that I would manage to catch one of the 10 great savage beasts today. Whether you are the Snow Lady or the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion King, my reward will be an entire set of transcendent soul bones." Ha ha, ha 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 ha. This time, the surge of soul power was considerably less than before. Hui Yuhao could only feel a numbing sensation originating from the bones all around his body. He could not tell whether he was comfortable or feeling awful as this sensation coursed through his entire body. But Chen Gang's dense soul power did agitate the circulation of blood in his veins, which alleviated the overbearing pain caused by the Ice Empress. As Chen Gang increased the frequency of his slaps on Hu Yuhao's body with his palms, his expression became more and more dismal too. Finally, he wrenched Hu Yuhao from the bed and dragged him in front of him, bellowing, "Are you not the rebirth of a savage beast?" Hu Yuhao stared at him coldly. "Since when did I tell you that I am the rebirth of a savage beast? I am a true, living human being." Chen Gang reacted to his words like a deflated balloon and threw Hu Yuhao onto the bed violently. Then, he said depressingly, "How is this possible? How is this possible? I clearly sense the aura of a savage beast. I can't be wrong. Only extremely powerful savage beasts will possess such a strong undulation of life force." Under the suppression of his soul power, Hu Yuhao was immobile. However, he could still speak. "That's because of your own greed. There's no harm in telling you, my ice martial soul is indeed the ice jade scorpion." Chen Gang's face was struck with a look of revelation. "So that's the case. So that's the case. It's just that. How are you able to make the aura of the martial soul of your ice jade scorpion appear with traces of the ice jade empress scorpion? This is impossible. Moreover, how did the martial soul of the ice jade scorpion appear? I have never heard of anyone who possesses such a martial soul." With regards to this titled Doluo elder who had appeared so abruptly, Hu Yuhao was extremely riled up, and he bellowed in rage, "How should I know? Aren't you the titled Doluo here? You should know better than I do. But you came here to grab me before even clarifying the situation. Forget it, Yuhao. This elder is not being deliberate here either." Wang Dong finally spoke, and his voice in an unusual, tender tone. He even coupled the smile on his face with adulation. People cannot avoid making mistakes. Elder Cheng might be a super expert, a titled Doluo, but it's inevitable that he will make mistakes too. He's not doing this on purpose, and he didn't cause you any real harm either. Just forget it. As he said that, Wang Dong even shot a look at Hu Yuhao. They had been partners for such long time, to the point where they were practically telepathic. Hu Yuhao felt his heart skip a beat, as he instantly understood what Wang Dong was trying to do and scowled at himself. He wasn't as calm as Wang Dong in such a crucial moment. Only the three of them were inside the room at this moment, and the entire room had been sealed off. If this titled Doluo wanted to cover up what had just transpired, or if he suddenly felt murderous and wanted to silence them forever, then nobody could save them. However, a sudden change in attitude wasn't the way to go either. Hu Yuhao grunted once and stopped talking entirely. Chen Gang growled, "It's just my bad luck. You two little kids better watch your mouths." Wang Dong inquired, "I haven't asked, what is your title?" Chen Gang, the protector Doluo, left the Grand Imperial Star Hotel. There was no need to even mention how depressed he was feeling. The instant he had sensed the aura of the savage, he had felt as if the blood in his body was boiling. As a titled Doluo, he was naturally aware that when a soul beast reached 100,000 years of cultivation, it could choose to recultivate to become a human. Otherwise, it could attempt to break through the exceedingly perilous bottleneck. After 200,000 years of cultivation, a soul beast could no longer cultivate to become a human anymore. However, he had indeed sensed the aura that had come from Hu Yuhao's body. Spurred by his own greed, he could not help but ponder how humans did not fully comprehend soul beasts. Perhaps there was some special circumstance. Maybe soul beasts had researched a special method of undergoing cultivation. With such a mindset, he had gone looking for Hu Yuhao this morning with an elevated heartbeat. But who knew that things would turn out to be the complete opposite of what he had expected? After inspecting Hu Yuhao's body, he had gleaned nothing from it. Even if a soul beast turned into a human, the condition of the soul beast's body would be starkly dissimilar from that of a true human being. In particular, the method of circulating soul power was something that could not escape the eyes of a powerful individual, a titled Doluo like him. However, Hu Yuhao's body clearly reflected his identity as a real human. As his hopes had been dashed, it was no wonder that Chen Gang was currently crestfallen. With his current status in the Star Luo Empire, it was relatively easy for him to obtain a soul bone. While soul bones were rare, there were still some that could be acquired. However, Chen Gang was a conceited man. He had been searching for the most suitable and outstanding soul bone for himself. Ordinary soul bones hardly caught his eye. Despite this, he had yet to procure a soul bone for himself, even though he had cultivated to the level of a title Doluo. After all, when top-quality soul bones appeared on the market, their prices were astronomical. Even though the Star Luo Empire supported him, they wouldn't go to such an extent for him. What luck, damn it. I hope those rascals have some tact. Otherwise, offending Shrek Academy for no valid reason won't be good for me. But then, I didn't really do anything either. You should be glad that you didn't do anything to harm them. A cold voice sounded in his mind. Who is that? It was still in the afternoon, and the sun was still bearing down. With Chen Gang's cultivation, everything within a 1,000-meter radius would be within his range of sensation. However, he had not realized the presence of the person whose voice he had just heard. I am your daddy. Your daddy is waiting for you outside the west gate. Obedient child, come over now. That cold voice started to sound weird and piercing all of a sudden. Bastard, you dare to use a soul tool to make a fool of me. Chen Gang's figure flashed, and he made his way towards the direction of the west gate as if he were a puff of smoke. To him, if even a titled Doluo could not detect the presence of the other party, then the other party must certainly be using some form of peculiar soul tool to avoid detection. Neither parties had even released their martial souls, but Chen Gang's opponent was able to force him back, just by using a chicken bone. His cultivation must be very immense. I recall that your title is immense. Come, show me how powerful you are. As long as you are able to withstand 10 attacks of mine, I will let you off. In the face of this unpredictable elderly man, Chen Gang remained calm as he said in a deep voice, Elder, are you from Shrek Academy? The elderly man snorted, you're not dumb. Do you really think that Shrek Academy is such an easy target to be bullied? Who else from Shrek looked like that? It was naturally the Daotai Doluo, Elder Xian. Elder Xian hadn't even sent by Shrek Academy. After being reprimanded by Elder Mu, he had run out on his own. He couldn't stop worrying about the little fellows. As for the competition before, he had been watching it secretly. When Wang Dong supported Hu Yuhao and Bei Bei to seize victory, he had been so emotional that he had teared up, even though he hadn't been so impassioned for a long time. At that point in time, he even had the urge to burst up to the arena to compete himself. Today, he had witnessed the entirety of Chen Gang's actions. He had watched from the side. If Chen Gang had had the murderous intention to kill both Hu Yuhao and Wang Dong, he and even the Star Luo Empire wouldn't have been spared. Chen Gang lamented in his heart. From what he knew, Shrek Academy's teacher, that had come this time, should have only been in the Soul King level. I was a little reckless. However, if a soul beast converts into a human to cultivate, it will pose a huge threat to the human race. That's why I shut your trap. Elder Xian bellowed in anger, cut your flowery words with me. Are you not just being selfish? Let's not even talk about the fact that a soul beast can't turn into a human. Even if a soul beast could, it would just become a human after it succeeds in its cultivation. What has that got to do with you? Are you not eyeing the 100,000-year soul ring and soul bone? Stop trying to spout nonsense to me. On account of the fact that you did not attempt to kill them, I shall only teach you a lesson today. Remember it. Chen Gang was the protector Doluo of the Star Luo Empire, and it had been a long time since he had been admonished like this. His face turned red, and he retorted in fury, come on then, show me what you have to teach me. As he said that, his left leg stepped forward slightly. Following that, a beam of glowing concentrated black emanated from within his body. When this black glow appeared, it had an earth-shaking effect. The entire earth seemed to tremble slightly. Chen Gang's body began to show obvious changes. To a beast soul master, the higher his cultivation, the greater the changes his body would experience when he unleashed his martial soul. Right now, this was the case with Chen Gang. His skin turned dark and glimmered with light, as if it were a crustacean that was coated with a layer of black. The most intriguing change that he experienced were in his brows. Both sides of his eyebrows grew longer at the same time before they curled up. Eventually, they reached over 20 centimeters in length, as if they were two tentacles that were pointed upwards. 2 yellow, 3 purple, 4 black. A total of 9 rings appeared on his body. Following the rhythm of the soul rings, the frightening aura of a titled Doluo burst forth ceaselessly. The earth-shaking sensation became stronger and stronger. It seemed to have been influenced by Chen Gang's martial soul. This was the pressure of a titled Doluo. A titled Doluo who could cause mass destruction. Because of the presence of titled Doluo, a soul engineer had always been unable to surpass a soul master. As he howled, Chen Gang stepped forward abruptly. At the same time, the earth in front of him undulated and rose more than 10 meters tall like a tidal wave. Following that, the plot of earth that rose up started to slam down on Elder Xian. This wasn't any earth-type power, but a pure force. Chen Gang wasn't even using a soul skill right now. Elder Xian snorted, and stepped forward with his right leg too. Boom, just that simple step caused a huge impact, as if a meteorite had crashed or an earth dragon had risen from the ground. The earth that Chen Gang had lifted was instantaneously crushed. Not only that, but the frightening force was converted into a fan-shaped yellow shockwave that was conducted towards Chen Gang's feet. Chen Gang could only feel a wave of irresistible force being transmitted to him from beneath his feet. When he wanted to use a soul skill, he discovered to his shock that his soul power had been repressed. After that, he was heaved into the air. As Elder Xian stomped with his right foot, he appeared in front of Chen Gang in a flash. The forte of the Ant Emperor is its strength. Let this old man see how strong you are. As he spoke, Elder Xian's hand was already pressing on Chen Gang's shoulder. From the moment he leapt from the ground to the instant that he pressed on Chen Gang's shoulder, only a brief period of time had passed. However, Chen Gang felt that this brief period of time was as long as a century. When Elder Xian's figure flashed, Chen Gang must have had thought of at least 5 ways to escape his opponent's control. However, he was unable to perform any of them. As they were pulled closer, a startling pressure was exerted on him. He was stifled by this pressure, and could not even use a single soul skill. He froze in mid-air. Since he had become a titled Doluo, and even since he had become a soul master, he had never experienced such a situation in all his years. Chen Gang was completely out of sorts now. He had never thought that someone so powerful existed in this world. It was also at this point that the frightful momentum disappeared. Both Chen Gang and Elder Xian landed on the earth again. Elder Xian's huge hand was still pressing on Chen Gang's shoulder. Come. I will not use my soul power, but only my pure strength. Whatever you have to do, I will let you off if you can shrug my hand off your shoulder. Elder Xian looked at Chen Gang in disdain. As a titled Doluo, Chen Gang was normally an arrogant person. Furthermore, the strong suit of his martial soul was its strength. An ant might be minute, but it was able to lift heavy objects up to 100 times its weight. Moreover, Chen Gang's soul skills were targeted towards increasing his strength still further. He could be considered a pure strength-type titled Doluo. His opponent's soul power was immense, and he knew that he could not resist it, but he did not believe that he could not match up in terms of strength. Therefore, Chen Gang expended all his strength and used all the soul skills he had which could increase his own strength. He struggled mightily. The frightening strength caused the earth beneath him to crack, and fissures extended through the earth for several thousand meters around them. It was as if an earth dragon was really going to rise from the ground. However, the hand that was pressing on his shoulder was very strong. No matter how hard he tried, he could not shrug it off. Chen Gang's veins were already popping out. He had already tried his best, but he was still unable to free himself. Elder, are you an ultimate Doluo? Chen Gang asked in a blur. The physical pain that he felt was not comparable to the agony he felt in his heart. A long time ago, Chen Gang already knew that there were huge gaps between the cultivations of titled Doluo. But after he became a titled Doluo, he reckoned that his own abilities were very powerful and forgot this. When he was slapping himself earlier, he had become much clearer in his mind too. Every major level of a soul master was divided into 10 different ranks. When the lowest soul scholar reached rank 10, he could become a soul master after obtaining a soul ring. Because of that soul ring, a soul master was much more powerful than a soul scholar. In the soul master level, every increase in rank would increase one's soul power by at least 10%. At the stage of a soul grandmaster, the gaps between the ranks would become even greater. However, the gap in soul power between title Doluor was the greatest. This was after 90 ranks. Only after obtaining a soul ring could one's soul power transcend rank 90 and reach rank 91 through the power of the soul ring. Between rank 91 and 92, there was a twofold increase in soul power. Of course, the powers of a soul master could not just be determined using soul power. The strength of one's soul skill, the effectiveness of the soul rings on one's body, and even differences in soul bones could make up for the differences in cultivation between two different people. Hence, a rank 92 soul master might not find it particularly easy to defeat a rank 91 soul master. However, there was definitely a gap in soul power. Every time one's cultivation increased a rank, the difference would increase too. When rank 95 was reached, there would be a huge bottleneck. A rank 95 transcendent titled Doluor possessed a cultivation that could resist 10 lower-ranked titled Doluor. If a titled Doluor's cultivation could reach rank 99, he would be recognized as an ultimate Doluor. In the entire history of the Doluor continent, there had been very few ultimate Doluor. The period of time when there was the greatest concentration of ultimate Doluor was during the generation of Tang San of the Tang sect. Not only did ultimate Doluor appear then, but Tang San and his wife, as well as their rivals, even became gods. However, very few ultimate Doluor had appeared on the Doluor continent since then. I'm not. Elder Xian shook his head and denied Cheng Gang's words. You are not. Can you tell me your title then? Cheng Gang continued to ask indignantly. Elder Xian twisted his mouth and said, How did you reply to those little fellows? I shall reply you in the same way. You are still not fit to ask what my title is. You don't have the right to. Scram now. As he said that, he kicked Cheng Gang in the torso. Cheng Gang felt as if he was flying above the clouds as he was kicked out. But this kick wasn't important. When he controlled his body to cushion his landing on the ground, the slovenly elder had already disappeared. While his face was flushed, his heart was cold at this point. He shook his head and wiped the blood off his lips. Cheng Gang muttered bitterly, I am a frog in a well. I am really a frog in well. After I became a titled Doluor, I thought that I was the most outstanding. But I didn't expect that I'd be nothing against someone who is truly powerful. Shrek Academy, what a Shrek Academy. I have to shut myself in and cultivate again. Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong did not know that Elder Xian had avenged them. After eating, they went to visit Xiao Xiao. However, the two of them only remained at the entrance of the room to take a look at her situation. They did so because it was not too appropriate for them to enter, given the situation inside. Xiao Xiao's room door wasn't shut and was half opened. From the opening of the door, Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong could see a burly figure sitting at the bedside. This person was meticulously feeding Xiao Xiao porridge with a small spoon. After they arrived in Wang Yang's room, Wang Yang gestured for both of them to take a seat on the sofa. Following that, he stared at them with a serious expression on his face without opening his mouth for a whole minute. Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong began to develop chills on their skin after being eyeballed by Wang Yang. Wang Dong got to a point where he could no longer bear it and asked, Teacher Wang, why are you staring at us? Wang Yang sighed slightly before replying, I have been cultivating since my youth. Only when I reached 20 did I realize that I'm not innately talented. Then, I turned my attention to the research of martial souls. I toiled, and eventually cemented my place in Shrek Academy today. I am 41 years old this year, and I've been studying martial souls for a good 35 years now. In Shrek Academy, there's never a lack of talents. However, my understanding of what a talent constitutes has been redefined repeatedly when it comes to your batch. I have even seen the occurrence of many situations that have until now only appeared in myths and legends. Initially, I believed that Dai Huabin was the most outstanding among your batch of students. Although he's only 13 years old, he possesses soul power up to rank 37. It's almost conceivable that he can reach the cultivation of Soul Emperor when he's 20 years old, under the meticulous guidance of the Academy. Maybe the both of you are unaware, but we've something known as seeds in the Academy. They refer to students whose cultivation can reach 6 rings even before they are 20 years old. Right now, there are only 4 seedling students remaining in the entire academy. They include Ma Xiaodao and Dai Yaoheng, whom the two of you have seen before. Achieving 6 rings before the age of 20 is also publicly recognized in the continent as the criteria to be called an unrivaled talent. I used to think like that in the past too. However, after I got to know the both of you better, I have been reminded through your actions that this theory is fallacious. The class of 1 soul power is not everything. There are even more crucial components and situations apart from the class of 1 soul power. Let me explain to the both of you. Yu Hao, I shall talk about you first. You are the one who surprises me the most. In terms of diligence, you are among the top 3 of all the students that I've seen. As for your talent, you are the only one with an ultimate martial soul that I have ever seen. What's even more unbelievable is that it's a twin martial soul. Your second martial soul awakened after the first. These few conditions of yours are all suitable to be the subject of my research. Even till now, I have not grasped some of your mysteries. As for your will and resilience, you are without a doubt the toughest person I have seen among those in your same age bracket. I am certain that your achievements will be above Dai Huabin's in the future. In the competition yesterday, you displayed 2 abilities at the end. Don't tell me that they were skills derived from your first soul ring. If I am not recalling wrongly, your first soul skill was your soul bone skill, which is a powerful soul skill that resembles the power of a domain. Logically speaking, with your condition, you shouldn't have been able to possess such a skill. And when you displayed that skill at the end which forced you wooching off the arena, I could feel the frightening aura of that soul skill even though I wasn't even in the arena. Furthermore, Yu Wuqing had already freed himself from the restraint of the Golden Road. With his cultivation as a soul king, you couldn't have beaten him simply by consolidating your soul power. At that point in time, I felt that your control of soul power became much greater. Can you explain to me how you were able to do that? In the face of Wang Yang's doubts, Yu Hao groaned inwardly. Teacher Wang was indeed very astute in his observations, as his questions were all on point. This problem had been bugging Yu Hao for some time. In the past, he had not known what Wang Dong's second martial soul was. He even assumed that their second martial souls had some form of connection. But now, he realized that the second martial souls the two of them possessed were completely unconnected. Despite this, there was still a high degree of compatibility between their martial souls, to the point where they had even obtained the Haodong power, which was a force that could be used to cultivate and improve together. Wang Yang laughed bitterly. It's indeed tough for me to answer your question. I have been pondering it too. Regarding this, I've pored over a lot of materials in the academy. However, I'm still unable to give you a precise answer. The fusion of twin martial souls has never appeared before in the records of the academy over the past 10,000 years. I can even say that there's no relevant information regarding this in the entire history of the continent. Thus, no one can be sure about what's going on with the fusion of both of your martial souls. We can only guess. I thought about it last night, and came up with a few possibilities. The first possibility relates to the quantity of martial souls. While it's true that both your martial souls are different, it's also crucial to understand that your martial souls are both twin martial souls. Twin martial souls are very rare. For 2 to appear, and even achieve compatibility like the both of yours, is even rarer. Your 2 twin martial souls represent one similarity between the both of you. The both of you must be wondering why Xiao Xiao can't fuse with you. This relates to my second possibility, which is also the most probable reason. The 2 of you are complement each other. For 2 martial souls to fuse together even though they are unconnected to each other has happened before. The reason why they can fuse together is due to their complementary existence. As both martial souls complement each other, they will fuse together, just like yin and yang, developing a martial soul fusion skill in the process. Yu Hao's 2 martial souls of the spiritual type and ice type. As for Wang Dong, your martial souls belong to the light type and strength type categories. All 4 of your martial souls are different, but no one can be sure whether they are complementary to one another. Maybe, for some reason, your martial souls fuse together because they are complementary. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.